Today on the Acoustic Tuesday show, I'm gonna help grow your guitar arsenal. In fact, not only am I gonna help you with that, I'm also gonna help you answer the inevitable question another guitar geek asks you. Yes, that question that goes like this. Hey, I really wanna play guitar. In fact, I really wanna play blues, but I don't have that much to spend on an instrument. Can you help me out? Well, today, after today's episode, you're gonna be able to provide that information for your guitar geek buddy, and not to mention, you might even get inspired to grow your own guitar arsenal with these 5 budget-friendly blues guitars. Yes, I'm gonna be going over 5 of my favorite blues guitars that come in under the price tag of $230. Yes, I said that correct. All 5 guitars in my list come in under $230. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dig right in. Starting with number 5, a guitar made by the folks at Gretsch, the Gretsch Jim Dandy. The Gretsch Jim Dandy comes in at $169. Yes, it is an inexpensive guitar, but quite possibly the best $169 you could spend. Is it rich with overtones? Is it long on sustain? Is it luscious and deep-bodied? No, it's none of those things, but that's exactly what makes it a beautiful blues guitar. It's got the bark, it's got that attitude, and it just sounds, well, damn good. In fact, let's hear John Rauhaus playing the Gretsch Jim Dandy right now. All right, next up on my list in the number 4 position is the Recording King Series 7 Singolo. This guitar, well, honestly, comes in at $169 as well. Yes, it gives the Gretsch Jim Dandy a run for its money, and it has a little bit of extra visual panache. It has that aesthetic. It says, hey, here I am. I've got a bunch of mojo, check me out. Now, this guitar certainly is eye-catching, but I think you'll notice that it sounds pretty damn good as well. So let's have a listen. All right, the next guitar on my list, coming in at the number 3 position, is the Yamaha FS800. This particular guitar, while not necessarily a dedicated blues guitar, I think functions fantastically in the blues realm. But also, it's for that player that wants to play guitar but doesn't want to wrestle a full big dreadnought body. This is a smaller bodied instrument with a solid top. Not to mention, I didn't even mention the price. It comes in at $199. Yes, this particular guitar really is the full package in terms of depth of tone, comfortable playability, and just a good sounding guitar that I think functions well in the blues realm, as I said. So with that being said, I had a chance to play this guitar some time ago, so well, let's hear me pick a tune on it. Coming in at the number 2 position is a guitar from Fender, the Fender CP60S. Yes, this is Fender's quote-unquote starter parlor guitar. It has a solid top. It comes in a variety of finishes, namely the Sunburst and Natural, and it comes in at $199 as well. This guitar has a little bit more of a shallow depth of tone, making it perfect for blues. It's got a little bit of bark, it's got a little bit of boxiness, and the demo that you're about to hear is the performer's actually playing kind of modern fingerstyle on it, which doesn't necessarily correlate to blues all that well, but I think you'll get a sense of its boxiness from this demo. So let's have a listen. right, now coming in at the number 1 position. Yes, another guitar from Recording King. The Recording King Dirty 30s Series 9 00. This guitar has a little bit bigger body, and it's actually got a little bit bigger price tag. It's the highest priced guitar on my entire list, coming in at a whopping $229. Yes, still not breaking the bank, but offering a ton of blues potential. Now, I've got 4 reasons why this guitar is in the number 1 position, and the first reason, well, it's Molly Tuttle. Here's some footage of her playing the original model that this guitar is based on. That was the vintage model. I believe it's from the 30s, and a pretty good sounding guitar at that. But the second reason that this guitar, the new version, needs to be on your radar is looks. Look at it. It's aesthetically pleasing, and it just says, hey, I'm here to play the blues. From the sunburst to the pickguard to the minimal inlay on the fretboard, it's just a bluesy looking guitar. The third reason, bigger body equals more bass. If you find yourself fingerpicking the blues and you're looking for that extra thump, a little bit more of a robust bass response, this is certainly a guitar to consider. And reason number 4 that you need this guitar to play the blues, well, is C, reason number 1. Yeah, it's Molly Tuttle. But in all seriousness, let's go ahead and listen to the new version of the Recording King Dirty 30 Series 9 00 being played. Here it is. So there you have it, 5 budget-friendly blues guitars that will maybe inspire you to grow your guitar arsenal or help a budding guitar geek grow theirs. Now, if you want a quick recap, let me go ahead and give you the rundown of my top 5 budget-friendly blues guitars. Coming in at number 5, the Gretsch Jim Dandy. Coming in at number 4, the Recording King Series 7 Singolo. Coming in at number 3, the Yamaha FS800. Coming in at number 2, the Fender CP60S. And coming in at number 1, yes indeed, the Recording King Dirty 30s Series 9 00. A lot of names within that name, but I think you get the drift. Now, those are just 5 of my favorites. If you're sitting there thinking, Tone, I can't believe you missed this one. It's a great guitar for the budget. It's amazing. It comes in at under $230. If you have one of those guitars in your brain, go ahead and take it out of your brain and put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. In fact, if we could turn this episode into a resource for budget-friendly blues guitars, that would be awesome, and you could certainly contribute in the comments below. So if you have one of those guitars in mind, go ahead and leave it down beneath. All right, this week on Acoustic Tuesday, you've already checked out 5 stellar budget blues guitars. You'll hear an artist who's got the mojo, got the tone, and got the blues. In fact, he has the blues tattooed on his hand. Plus, speaking of budget guitars, I'll show you 5 easy things that you can do to upgrade your guitar, make it sound better, and give you top dollar tone at a bargain price. Welcome to Acoustic Tuesday, episode 143. This is the show where we're going to learn about acoustic guitar gear, discover acoustic artists, and get inspired to live your very best acoustic life. As with all episodes of Acoustic Tuesday, I'm going to share with you my guitar geek list for the week, but prior to doing that, there's an important order of business that we must take care of, and yes, that is a guitar geek trivia. Now, the question I have for you today revolves around a brand I mentioned twice in my top 5 budget blues guitars, and that is Recording King. Here's your question. The brand Recording King was revived in 2007 by the Music Link in Hayward, California. When the brand originated in the 1930s, what department store was Recording King the house brand for? Was it A, Sears, B, Montgomery Ward, C, Woolworths, or D, Marshall Fields? Go ahead and ponder that, and at the end of the show, I'll be sure to give you the answer. Now, let's go ahead and sink right into that artist I mentioned at the beginning of today's show. This is an artist that, in my opinion, really encapsulates all things blues. He plays a mule resophonic guitar. He's got a picture of Charlie Patton tattooed on his picking hand. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about none other than Charlie Hicks. I first discovered Charlie Hicks when I was surfing around the Mule Resophonic Guitars website looking for demos, and I didn't even see the face of this individual. I just saw his hand. I saw the Charlie Patton tattoo. I saw the slide on his fretting hand, and I thought, even from the still image, I thought, I really like this guy. And then I pressed play on the video, and I thought to myself, wow, I really, 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 really like this guy. He's got an amazing voice. His guitar technique is awesome. It's raw. It's in a way unrefined, but perfect for the blues. And I don't mean unrefined as in he doesn't practice. I mean unrefined in that it's raw. And it's just totally full of emotion, and I absolutely love hearing him play. In fact, speaking of hearing him play, let's go ahead and listen to his version of When Death Comes for Me.
When death, he calls for me, I will sing loud as can be. When death, he calls for me, I'll be free.
See what I mean about the voice? See what I mean about the playing? He's the total blues package. That song was off of his 2016 EP, and if you've kind of got a little bit of hankering for more blues, don't worry, I've got you covered. We're gonna go ahead and listen to Charlie Hicks play his song Beehive Blues.
I'm good to my woman, she's good to me.
Now, you may very well be thinking to yourself, Tone, he sounds familiar. I love his playing. I think I've heard it somewhere before, but the name Charlie Hicks doesn't ring a bell. Well, in recent history, I'm thinking actually in the beginning of 2020, he's kind of undergoing a little bit of a name change. So he's operating under the name David and the Devil. And under that name, he's actually released 2 singles recently, one of which we'll listen to right now. And it is his version of Up Jump the Devil. Here it is.
Along come the devil, raising up his hand. Down come the rain, flooding all the land. Out cried the devil, oh, look what I have done. I'll be returning with the setting sun.
That song captured my heart for 3 distinct reasons. Number one, the voice, the way it was recorded and through the microphone, it sounds very old, vintage. I love it. The guitar tone, fantastic, likely a Mule Resophonic guitar. And number 3, he set the song to a 1929 animation from Walt Disney, and it's just so cool. I mean, it's just visually captivating. I totally love it and certainly appreciate it. Now, I have to say that I'm excited to share Charlie Hicks' quote-unquote David and the Devil with you. In fact, if you're wondering where you can listen to more of Charlie Hicks, let's go ahead and give you the rundown of his albums. Now, first off, before I dig into the albums that have been released, I noticed on his Instagram that he's been sharing clips of him in the recording studio. So I'm hoping, maybe I'm suggesting that David and the Devil releases a full-on album, and that may be in our future. I'm certainly excited to pay attention to that and keep you all posted as things develop, but holy smokes, I'm excited. Now, he has released 2 singles under David and the Devil, one in which you heard, Up Jump the Devil. The other one is Down in the Swamp, which also has a music video. Way cool, might I add. You got to check that out. But let's dig into the album specifically. Back in 2016, he released an album, Charlie Hicks. It was an EP, self-titled EP, and then follow up to that, a full-on self-titled album, also in 2016. And then in 2017, yet another self-titled album. So a lot of self-titled albums, and to the best of my knowledge, these are available on Spotify. That's where I've been listening. I cannot find physical copies, though, so maybe if you found a physical copy, or in your research, if you find a physical copy, go ahead and post a link in the comments below. I'd love to get my hands on a physical copy because, well, I love what Charlie's doing, and I'd love to support him as much as I personally can. And hopefully now that you've heard him, you can do the same. In fact, to learn more about Charlie Hicks, please visit acousticlife.tv/AT143. And this is kind of a 2-for-1 special because not only do you get to follow Charlie Hicks, you get to follow his project, David and the Devil. 2-for-1 special. It's all about deals on Acoustic Tuesday, and I just provided one for you right there. Speaking of Acoustic Tuesday proper, let's hop in our Wayback Machine, which is a DeLorean, I believe. Let's shut the door, dial up all the dials, and zoom back to episode 141, where I basically pitted the acoustic guitar versus the electric guitar. A lot of great comments, and I want to visit a couple of those right now. In fact, our very first comment comes from Rich Rundle, and he says this: "My wife has had to leave to take care of her sick 95-year-old mother back in June of 2019. She was to come back in January, but because of COVID-19, she has been stranded out of town and could not return. She's now been gone for 10 months. If it wasn't for my acoustic guitars, I would have gone insane. It is my therapy and the one thing that gets me through the lonesome and insanity of all this. I play both, but there's no comparison. Acoustic just offers too much versatility and comfort over an electric guitar. Parentheses, unless I'm playing SRV or Gary Moore." Thanks so much, Rich, for leaving your comment, and I'm so happy to hear that the guitar is offering you company during these kind of, well, crazy times. Our next comment comes from Mark Lake, and he's commenting on one of the documentaries I actually mentioned in that episode. And he says, "As an engineer and guitar geek, I thought Restrung was awesome. You can see the joy he has in his work and the joy of those who play his instruments. You know he loves his work when he persevered through making no profit." Thanks for sharing. Well, thanks, Mark, for leaving that comment. I certainly do appreciate it, and so glad you were able to dig into one of those documentaries. And speaking of those documentaries, our next comment is along the same lines. This comment comes from Ken Hills, and he says this: "I watched Carmine Street Guitars on Crave. This is a very good film. You can really see and feel the love they have for what they're doing, along with some great in-store guitar solos. It's a real treat." Well, thanks so much, Ken, for leaving that comment, and I'm so glad you had a chance to jump into that documentary. I have yet to see the full thing, but I do plan on it. I was telling Colorado Kyle earlier that, Whitney's been requesting to watch a lot of different movies, and I haven't been putting up too big of a fight because I had her on a run of watching a bunch of guitar movies, and she was a great sport. So I thought, you know what? Rather than stand my ground, I'm going to go ahead and let her pick a good 6-7 movies in a row. Get her on a nice streak, And then when I say, "Hey, do you mind watching this documentary?" I can just go ahead and throw one in, and she won't even bat an eye. Anyways, just a little pro tip for you all out there. Our next comment comes from TAC family member and Acoustic Tuesday viewer, Jumpin' Jeff S. And he says this in response to the cleaning of my Martin HD35. He says, "Martin HD35, great guitar to play by the campfire, but careful not to get too close to the flames. Right, Tony?" This is kind of a little bit of an inside joke because at one of the very early Acoustic Life festivals, Jumpin' Jeff S. and I and a bunch of other TAC family members were sitting around a fire at Buck's T4 Lodge down south of Bozeman, Montana. And I was sitting very close to the fire. This was late at night. Bourbon may or may not have been involved. I can't quite remember, so chances are it was. But it was cold. You know, Montana summers are cold. I was sitting by the fire, kind of close to the fire, probably a little too close with my Martin HD35. And the next morning, when I pulled my guitar out of the case, I noticed that some of the binding had started to separate on the back, and I was so bummed out. But it was one of those moments where I was so kind of just entrenched in the music we were playing and focused on it, I didn't have really full-on awareness of my surroundings. So, that being the case, let my mistake be a lesson to you. Don't sit too close to the fire, even if it's warm. Or get a carbon fiber guitar, because those aren't really subject to any heat changes like that. Lesson learned. Let's round things out with our last comment here. This one comes from Matthew Drell. And this is on the acoustic versus electric. He says, such a great answer to this question. I've grown up on both, and yet have just now consumed myself with acoustic guitar and just absolutely love it. There is no comparison. It is magical. Thanks, Tony. Just finished the Fretboard Wizard course, truly stretched in my abilities. My wife is probably thinking that I'm spending too much time with Tony. Looking forward to continuing on in the challenge. Thanks so much for everything you do, the work you put in, the organization. Just wow, brother. Guitar Geeks Unite. Well, thanks so much for your kind words, Matt. And congratulations on getting through the Fretboard Wizard course. That's super cool. And thank you for sharing that as well. I should also thank everyone for all their comments back on that episode. It's so cool to get to know you all and have discussions and conversations with you all through those comments and kind of spark up some good conversation during the show. So thank you again for that. And also another thing that I want to mention, something I want to bring back in style, right? You know, style, fashion has its ups and downs. Well, I want to bring back the Guitarsenal shirt. Yes, indeed. I want you to visit acoustictuesday.store and pick yourself up a Guitarsenal shirt. And once you do so, once you have that Guitarsenal shirt and it's shipped directly to your door, please put it on. And then take a picture amongst all of your guitars. We've been stuck at home for quite some time. This is a perfect time to get all your guitars out, maybe clean them up, give them a little bit of love and attention, and then take a picture amongst all of them. Once you have that picture, please submit it at acousticlife.tv. There's a submit link in the top menu, and you can go ahead and upload your picture and tell a story about your guitar collection. Heck, you can go through each one and name it if you want to, and I'll feature you on an upcoming episode of Acoustic Tuesday. Not to mention, I'll throw you in the Instagram feed as well, and if you're not following TAC on Instagram, please do so. The Instagram handle is tac.guitar. We've been posting a lot of really fun stuff. Some at-home playing and practicing of our various TAC family members, Guitarsenals, of course, pictures from the Acoustic Life Festival, and just some really cool quotes from some artists that we all admire. So make sure to follow us on Instagram. Again, that's at tac.guitar. All right, I would certainly appreciate if you did that. In fact, I appreciate TAC family member John S. John S. took some time out of his schedule to submit a guitar gratitude, so let me go ahead and kick it over to John S. right now.
Thank you, Tony. I'm grateful for my guitar, and I'll tell you why. Because music is the voice of my soul, and my guitar has gotten me through so many rough patches, and just the community and being connected to other guitarists and just to music itself as expressed through my guitar. My wonderful, fabulous Martin D18, which I love dearly. Thank you. Bye. Be safe.
I want to thank John for sharing that and sharing that gratitude that he has for the guitar being able to help him, well, express himself creatively and artistically. It's so cool to hear, and also really cool, very guitar geeky to see the guitar headstock there with the string ends just kind of wildly hanging out. Be careful with your eyes, John. Be careful with your eyes. But seriously, thank you, John, for sharing that. And if you have some guitar gratitude that you wish to share on the Acoustic Tuesday show, please do it at guitargratitude.com. Once you go to that site, you'll be prompted to submit a video. You can do so right there on that page. It takes 60 seconds or less, and then that goes directly to me. I go ahead and look at it, and I say, hey, let's include that in the Acoustic Tuesday show. It's awesome. Not only is it an awesome piece of guitar gratitude, it'll inspire other guitar geeks. And voila, just like that, you're included in the Acoustic Tuesday show. Again, that's at guitargratitude.com. All right, I'm getting close to wrapping up the show here, but since we were talking about budget guitars, I thought to myself, You know, one of the cool things about getting a budget guitar, whether it's your first guitar or a guitar that you're adding to your guitar arsenal, is being able to kind of tweak it and hot rod it and upgrade it, getting kind of top dollar tone out of a budget-friendly instrument. So I'm going to share with you 5 ways that you can do that pretty darn easily. So let's go ahead and dig right into that. Coming in at number 5, the way that you can change your guitar's sound in a cheap and effective way, and a really fun way actually, is change the pick that you use. Yes, different picks offer different sounds. They're made of different materials, and each one offers a unique tonal profile. And honestly, it's the easiest way you can change the sound of your guitar and get more out of it. So here's a couple of pick materials that I particularly like. First and foremost is the kind of the old classic celluloid. Think, you know, the classic Fender medium pick. That's celluloid. D'Addario makes some as well. It's a softer material. It'll give you a little bit more of a warm tone. Next up is Ultex, one of my all-time favorite picks. In fact, you're looking at one of my favorite picks, the Dunlop Ultex Sharp 2.0. This is a little bit of a harder material. It has a little bit of snap, and it's pretty resistant to wear. It brings out some nice articulation in your guitar. Next up, they actually make picks out of wood, which have a warmer tone, but increased friction on the strings, so it's a little bit of a trade-off, but certainly an interesting experiment to try. They also make stone picks. No joke, these talk about articulation. These are extremely hard and the strings really snap and slip off of them. So it offers a very interesting tonal profile. And then a couple of specialty picks. We've got Red Bear picks, which are made in Utah, and they utilize an organic cultivated protein that mimics tortoise shell. So this is kind of the quote-unquote eco-friendly or green version of tortoise shell, and they're great picks for that nice, warm, woody vintage tone. I'll also mention blue chip picks, one of my other personal favorites. I favor the TAD 1R80. That's the one I love, but really wear resistant and produce fantastic tone, great clarity, great articulation, and good balance across all the strings. And then finally, a pick that I haven't used but certainly would offer a different tone, a metal pick. Yes, indeed, those are in existence and certainly offer some brilliance, articulation, and some kind of a crystalline quality to your sound. So a very cheap and inexpensive experiment that you can try. Now, those blue chip picks do kind of get to the $40 price range, but in the whole range of experiments that you could try on your guitar, that still, in my opinion, falls in the lower end in terms of price range. There's certainly other tweaks you can try that are far more expensive, but we're not talking about those. Let's go to the next experiment that I wish you to try, number 4 on my list, and that is experiment with different guitar strings. Yes, guitar strings, each brand, each material holds a different tonal profile, again, that can totally change the sound of your guitar. Now, I'm talking about different brands, but more importantly, different alloys of strings. And just to name a few, you've got 80/20 bronze, phosphor bronze, nickel bronze, aluminum bronze, and many, many others, each one offering something a little different. Some are more mellow, some are more bright, some are more articulate, some are a little bit more warm and luscious. They're all different, and I encourage you to try different strings on your guitar until you find that perfect match. Now, some of my favorite guitar strings coming in at the top of my list are the Santa Cruz parabolic tension strings. I 100% love these strings on my dreadnoughts. I use the mid-tension ones, and I have found no other string that offers the longevity, the clarity, the balance, and the overall great depth of tone that these strings offer. I also really dig the Ernie Ball aluminum bronze strings. I favor these on my Bourgeois OMSC. I use a lot of alternate tunings, and these strings seem to hold up in terms of clarity and balance. Even when I do some really low alternate tunings, these strings really perform quite well and have a kind of a nice top end zing, I'll call it. And then kind of one of my favorite strings for a backup set is the John Pierce phosphor bronze medium gauge. These strings are just kind of the road-worthy, road-worn, fantastic strings to just know they're going to be there and perform. Now, one quick note on these strings, they're not coated, so they do wear pretty quickly, but right out of the package, they're fantastic, which is why I include them in each one of my guitar cases as a backup set in case a string breaks. And then finally, I should also mention that the D'Addario nickel bronze strings are some of my favorite for my resonator guitars. They offer a wonderful warmth, but still some nice, solid and refined top end. I'm a really happy customer when it comes to these strings. In fact, I was a little leery because I wasn't sure I was going to love them, but after really sinking into them and try them out for some time, I really do dig these strings. So again, a very cheap and inexpensive experiment you can try to change the sound of your guitar. Just change the strings. You can mess with gauges, you can mess with brands, and certainly those different materials. Now, speaking of materials, that brings me to the next change or experiment you can try with your budget guitar to get some top-end tone out of it, and that is swapping out the nut and saddle for a different material. In fact, namely bone. Most budget guitars ship with a plastic nut and a plastic saddle. Plastic is a soft material that I guess you can say that it kind of absorbs sound or doesn't transmit vibration very efficiently. When you upgrade the nut or the saddle to bone, you're working with a harder material, meaning it will transfer vibration a little bit more efficiently. You'll get better tone, you'll get better responsiveness, you'll get better articulation. Ultimately, you'll even notice an increase in volume because this material, bone, actually transmits vibration much more efficiently and kind of brings the most out of your guitar. Now, special note with this modification, you may have to bring your guitar into a repairman or one of your favorite guitar stores that offers repair services, because if you're not comfortable doing this, it can certainly be a pretty big project, and I certainly wouldn't want you to see I wouldn't want you to experience that feeling of like, oh my gosh, what did I do to my guitar? So if you're not comfortable doing this on your own, please bring it into a qualified repair person. There's also an individual, I believe he's in the southeast, Bob Colosi, where you can actually send in the nut and saddle from your guitar and he will make exact replicas that you can then swap in. So just another little factoidal nugget for you. The next experiment, speaking of swapping out materials, is to upgrade your bridge pins. Yes, your bridge pins, those tiny little things that sit in the bridge. Usually on budget guitars, they're made out of plastic, but I want to encourage you to swap those out for a different material, namely bone or wood. In fact, I favor bone pins on most of my guitars because they add a little bit of extra zing, and they're also even healthier for your guitar. Check this out. Plastic pins are soft and the string ball ends can kind of work their way into them and start to damage your bridge plate. When you introduce a harder substance, in this case bone, it actually provides a stiffer, more harder material for that ball end to rest against. Therefore, the strings don't actually dig into your bridge plate. Now, there's other options as well, not just bone. You can use wood as well. Ebony's one of my favorites. It looks really classy on all mahogany guitars and guitars that just need a little bit more of maybe a mellowing out of the two materials. Obviously, bone is harder, so it's going to offer more zing, whereas wood is softer. It's going to offer a little bit more mellow, more lush tone, but still provide that health for your bridge plate. And the final experiment, the final tone tweak I will offer to you is for those of you looking to experiment with different sounds on your guitar. You can have a budget-friendly guitar and upgrade it with a pickup very easily and open up a whole new world of tonal exploration. Yes, sound hole pickups are an easy tweak you can make because, well, you don't have to really do anything. You don't have to drill any holes. You don't have to do any modifications. Most sound hole pickups, you simply install in the sound hole. You can have a cord hanging out the front of your guitar and use that to plug into your amp or effects or PA or what have you. They're pretty easy to install, and again, as I mentioned, open up a whole world of tonal exploration. If you're wondering where to start in terms of sound hole pickups, three of my favorites are number one, the Fishman Black Stack pickup. A great sounding pickup, super sleek and just generally awesome, very easy to use. Next, the DiMarzio Black Angel, again, another sleek pickup, very, very brilliant sounding pickup, fantastic sound hole pickup and one that I strongly recommend. And then the third one, the Sunrise pickup, a little bit more on the expensive end of things, but certainly a great sound hole pickup that works fantastic with different effects units if you want to go that route. So there you have it. Those are my 5 tweaks that you can make to a budget price guitar to get top dollar tone. Just a quick review, you can change the pick that you use, you can change the strings that you use, you can swap out the nut and saddle for a different material, you can swap out the bridge pins for a different material, and you can add a sound hole pickup, so that opens up a whole new avenue of exploration for you. All of those probably come in at easily under $200. So if you do the most expensive tonal tweak and buy the most expensive guitar on my list, you're looking at $430 total dollars. That's pretty good for a good sounding blues guitar. if I do say so myself. So there you have it. You got some guitars to consider. You got a new artist to listen to while you make some tone tweaks on your guitar. Let's go ahead and wrap up the show with the answer to your Guitar Geek trivia question. Now, mind you, this was based on the brand Recording King and involving its history. Here's a quick recap of your question. The brand Recording King was revived in 2007 by the Music Link in Hayward, California. When the brand originated in the 1930s, what department store was Recording King the house brand for? Was it A, Sears, B, Montgomery Ward, C, Woolworths, or D, Marshall Fields? Well, if you answered B, Montgomery Ward, you're 100% correct. As a maker of high-quality instruments, Gibson was hit hard by the onset of the Great Depression in the 1930s. Company president Guy Hart, a former accountant, recognized that Gibson could not survive by simply waiting for better times, and he took action, diverting some guitar production to wooden toys and creating the Kalamazoo line of budget-priced instruments. The most successful of these distributor brands made by Gibson were Recording King, sold by none other than Montgomery Ward. The best of all the contract models were a pair of dreadnought-sized flat tops made for Recording King and endorsed by cowboy movie star Ray Whitley. Gibson's relationship with Montgomery Ward began in the spring of 1931 with a deep-bodied flat top similar to Gibson's Nick Lucas model. 2 years later, Ward contracted with Gibson to produce a squat-bodied flat top similar to the Kalamazoo KG-11 that was endorsed by country singer-songwriter Carson Robeson. By 1937, Ward was offering more than a dozen Recording King flat top and archtop models made by Gibson. Buyers may or may not have recognized the body styles and workmanship as Gibson's, but none of the Recording Kings or Kalamazoos or any other non-Gibson branded instruments had Gibson's patented adjustable truss rod in the neck. Pretty fantastic story of a brand made for a department store, the reason why it started, and kind of some insider information when you're looking at some of those models, knowing that any of those Recording Kings or Kalamazoos didn't have a truss rod, while the other Gibson branded instruments actually did. Pretty cool stuff, and a great note to end the show on. Note, that was a musical pun. I'm pretty happy about that. I'm just practicing my dad jokes, no big deal. Let's take a quick sneak peek into next week. If I can look at my Guitar Geek crystal ball, it would say this. Next week, we're going to take flight and explore why flight cases are worth every single penny that you spend on them. And it's much more than just simply reassuring that your guitar is safe during flight. There's a lot more reasons, and I'll get to those next week. In fact, you're also going to be privy to an exciting announcement from the folks at Calton Cases, in addition to a special project that they're working on for me. I'm excited to share all that with you, but it's going to have to wait until next week because I only have so much gas in the tank. Guitar acquisition syndrome, that was another pun. I know, I'm on a roll. I should just keep going, but I can't. I have to refuel my tanks so I can be ready for next week. And speaking of next week, remember you can catch Acoustic Tuesday every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. here on YouTube. And of course, for your Acoustic Tuesday fix in between Tuesdays, please visit Acoustic Tuesday. What's the website again? Acousticlife.tv. That's what it is. Are we just going to keep rolling? Please visit acousticlife.tv for your Acoustic Tuesday fix in between Tuesdays. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you so much for being a guitar geek. I cannot wait to see you next week. Until then, Guitar Geeks Unite. Cheers.